$11.99 in the house today. Are the hotel trades in the house today? RWDSU in the house today. 32BJ in the house today. Is Neisner in the house today? Are working people in the house today? We're here today, sisters and brothers, because we're standing up for making New York the first state in the United States to have a $15 an hour minimum wage. We are here because we have a governor that has the insight to look at working people and say, we're not being treated fairly. Two of us, sisters and brothers, have to have two jobs for the price of one. And that's not fair. And we came here to raise our voices, to say that we are going to give dignity and respect back to workers. That no longer are we going to look out just for the people at the top, but we're going to look out for the people at the bottom and bring them to the top. New York has always been a beacon where people from all around the world come here because of their aspirations to do better. And under our governor, we've been leading the way on many things in New York, like marriage equality, comprehensive immigration reform, making sure that we all stay safe in New York. And now our governor wants to lead the way in New York to make sure we are the first state to have a $15 minimum wage all across the state. And so, I'm checking just to see. I need a signal. Are we ready? I need Diego to come up front. Can we get Diego up front, please? I want to recognize the president of the New York chapter of the NAACP, who's out here standing up with us, Sister Hazel Dukes. We love you, Hazel. Now, I got a program to stick to, but this is very important. How many of y'all remember when you were 13? And how many of y'all are lying about it? Well, today we have a young man who decided, with his mother's permission, that his 13th birthday ought to be celebrated with us fighting for a $15 minimum wage. His name is Diego. So let's wish Diego a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Diego. Thank you. Thank you, Diego, for being here. We're ready? Okay. I'm now going to be joined on the stage. Excuse me for not having much voice, but I've been traveling around New York State with our governor fighting for 15. And I'm not sure where, but one of those places I left my voice. But it'll come back to me somewhere. In the meantime, we have a member of Union 32BJ. Please give her a welcome. Her name is Sandra Luke.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sandra Luke from Trinidad and Tobago. Also from Brooklyn, New York. And I'm here representing LaGuardia Airport. I'm proud to be here today to support low-wage workers who are standing up for a better future for us all. I'm here today representing 14,000 airport workers in New York area and thousands more across the country. I'm also proud to stand with my brothers and sisters in the health profession who have come together with airport workers in the fight for 15. 32? 32? Fight for? Fight for? Thank you. I first began working as a subcontractor at the airport called Prime Flight in 2015. After a rewarding yet exhausting career as a nanny, I look at this job as a new beginning, as a way to support myself and continue helping people. Working as a wheelchair attendant is very rewarding. I get to spend my day with people, hearing their stories, and learning about their lives. But while I help people, hearing their stories and learning about their lives, making just $10.10 an hour means that the rent is hard to pay. It means that paying for my Metro card just to get to work is difficult. We ain't get health insurance, paid vacation, or sick days. This is no way to live or to treat people. That's why Governor Cuomo is fighting to raise the minimum wage of 15. Fight for? Fight for? Because he knows that a 15 minimum wage will help restore dignity and decency to people who work hard every day to build a better future. As we stand together in the fight for $15 today, we know that we'll all give each other strength, hope, and inspiration. We have all had enough, and together we will raise ourselves, our families, and our communities out of this stagnant system that keep us in poverty. 32? 32? Fight for? Fight for? And now I'm happy to introduce a man who also believes that a fair day's work should earn fair day's pay. Cardinal Timothy Tolan, our Catholic representative.
Thank you. Thanks for wearing black.
You're welcome.
Brother Bishops, come on. It's an honor to be with you. My brother Bishops and I have stood with you for a living wage all the way back to 1890. So I very much appreciated it when the governor asked me to give a blessing on this noble gathering. So will you join me in a prayer? We need all the help we can get, right? Dear God, we ask your blessing upon this gathering and upon the working men and women of this great state. You, dear God, teach us in your holy word, the Bible, that the laborer deserves dignity and respect, that work is sacred and part of your ongoing creation of the universe. Your son Jesus was raised in a carpenter shop, brought up by a worker, St. Joseph, whose feast is this Saturday. No wonder Jesus preached, the worker deserves his pay. Guide us, Lord, to guarantee a living wage for our workers, and inspire our leaders here in Albany to determine with justice what that wage should be. You are God forever and ever. Amen. God bless you.
Now I'd like to welcome to the stage Mary Ellen Gibbs from 1199.
Good afternoon, my brothers and sisters of 1199. What are we all here for today? What do we want? When do we want it? That's right, my brothers and sisters. I started out as a professional actress, also a hairstylist, till one day my life changed. I fell down a flight of stairs and I had a very bad injury. I broke my shoulder. I had to go to rehab for a year, have surgery, and then another year of rehab. So then I find myself at 50 years old. Who's going to hire you at that age? It's so hard. So I had to reinvent myself. So as a person going through rehab, I worked with elderly people, had conversations with them. I said, oh, I can join and help and make these elderly people happy people. So I became a job working in a home care. But I only make $10 an hour. I went through all my money when I had that accident, and I can't even pay my bills. It's very hard to pay $1,500 a month rent when your salary doesn't go up. You can't pay your Con Ed bill. You have to, make a choice. Do I pay my Con Ed bill? Do I buy food? Do I pay my rent? So we gather together today and we want, what do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? That's right, so now I have the great pleasure introducing the man who's going to do it for us, right? We have the higher power above, but we have the higher power of New York right here with us, right? It is my great pleasure to introduce you, the Governor of New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Do we have Hector Figueroa and 32 BJ in the house? Do we have HTC in the house? Do we have Stuart Applebaum and RWDSU in the house? Do we have George Gresham and 1199 in the house? You see that big RV behind me back there? It's supposed to be painted red and blue and white. It came out red and it came out pink, but that's all right. George and I have been in that RV, driving all over the state for weeks, bringing this message to people all across the state. And I feel the energy growing, and I feel the momentum growing, and we're going to get a $15 minimum wage passed. Now, this is going on in a bigger context, right? This is not just about Albany now. You turn on the TV, and you see it's 24-hour politics all day long. And you turn on the TV, you see that little countdown clock, you're 20 minutes from one debate and you're 15 minutes from the next debate. And all this politics is getting ugly. And the talking heads say, well, you know what? People are angry, and that's what the politicians are feeling. They're feeling the people's anger. And the politicians are trying to determine how to use the anger. People are angry. And you know what? People should be angry. Why? Because the working men and the working women of this state and this country have been going backwards for decades, my friends. That's why.
Because if you are middle class, if you're a working family, you don't feel like you're getting ahead. You don't see a brighter future. You don't feel the mobility. The bills keep getting bigger and the paycheck keeps getting smaller. And you don't know how you're going to make it. So yes, people are angry. But the question becomes, what do you do with that anger? And some politicians want to use that anger, they want to use that fear for political purposes. And they take that fear and they take that anger and they create a target for that anger. And they say, I'll tell you what the problems are. The problem is caused by people who are different. That's what they say. You know, people who are different, people who have different skin colors, people who have different languages, people who come from different countries, they make that the problem. They're trying to make diversity and immigration the problem. And then their solution is very simple. We make a long list of all the people who are different, all the immigrants, and then we go out and we collect them all off the list and we kick them out of the country. And then what we do is we build a big wall so they can't come back. We don't, and what they say is, we don't just build a big wall, we build a really, really big wall. I mean, we build a wall that makes the wall of China look like a small wall. And we build a wide wall and a tall wall and a beautiful wall. We put a little gold trim at the top of the wall just to have a nice looking wall. But that's what they're trying to say. They're trying to say, demonize the differences, demonize the diversity, demonize immigrants. And if we fix that problem and kick them out, then everything will be solved. They want to take that energy and use it politically. We say the exact opposite. We say, don't try to turn us one against the other. Don't try to take that energy and make it negative. We're going to take that energy and we're going to make it positive. And the way you make it positive is you say, what's causing the problem and let's solve it. And what's causing the problem is economic injustice and working men and working women being exploited and going backwards decade after decade after decade. And we've had enough, and we want fairness, and we want respect, and we want dignity. That's what this is about. And it starts with the minimum wage. Why? Because Franklin Delano Roosevelt, great governor of New York, lived in that house right down the block, became president of the United States. He passed the minimum wage law. And you know what he said? The minimum wage law should pay people a salary that allows a decent living. A decent living. Why? Because we respect the work that people do, whatever you do. We respect that you do it, and we give you dignity for doing it. And a decent lifestyle. Today, the minimum wage in New York is $9 an hour. You know what? You can't live on $9 an hour and have a decent life. And that's why we want to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, $30,000 a year, so people can afford a decent lifestyle in this state. Now, you're going to hear from the opponents, oh, we can't raise the minimum wage. Why? Well, that'll be bad for the economy. First of all, in this state, we have the downstate economy, we have the upstate economy. They're different. We've taken that into consideration in our plan. We have a phase-in plan for upstate New York. Second, there is no one who's more concerned about upstate New York than I am. I've invested more in upstate New York than any governor in the history of the state of New York, and I feel good about that. So that's not what is fueling the opponents. You know what's fueling the opponents? They're representing the corporations. And the corporations don't want to pay a higher wage. It is that simple. And I'll tell you the real taxpayer scam. Listen to this one. You work for minimum wage, a place like McDonald's. You make about $18,000 a year for McDonald's at minimum wage. In this state, $18,000, you're still below poverty. So you can be a full-time worker at McDonald's and you still qualify for welfare benefits from the state of New York. Average welfare benefits for a full-time McDonald's worker, food stamps, welfare, etc., $7,000 a year we pay. So look what happens. McDonald's pays $18,000 to a worker. The state of New York pays $7,000 to that worker. That's how the worker gets by. Taxpayers of New York wind up subsidizing McDonald's workers all across this state. Why are we subsidizing private employees and corporations who don't want to pay a fair working wage? Second thing, once we get minimum wage, the second pillar we need, because we have two priorities. We want decent pay, and then we want decent treatment. And decent treatment means we don't want to be abused by the employer anymore. And decent treatment means people have a right to live their lives with decency. And we don't live at work, we live at home. And there are obligations at home. And sometimes a person is sick, a loved one is sick, and you have to stay home with a loved one who is sick. Sometimes, God forbid, a loved one is dying, and you want to be there at home with a loved one who's dying. Sometimes it's good news. And a lady has a baby, she has a right to stay home and bond with that new child. The husband has a right to stay home and bond with that child. And we want paid family leave for 12 weeks so people can stay home and honor their family commitment. And we need the family leave paid because people can't afford to take 12 weeks and stay home without a paycheck. And that's why 12 weeks of paid family leave restore decency, restore fairness. That's what this battle is about in New York. And it's the battle that is in the same context of what's going on nationwide. And what we're saying to the legislature in Albany is we're at a fork in the road, and you have to make a choice, and people are angry, and you can either take that energy to a positive place or a negative place. You can either continue to sow fear and sow hate, or you can restore dignity and fairness for all. We say to them, you want to build walls. We want to build bridges, because that's who we are. They think the strongest four-letter words are fear and hate. We think the strongest four-letter words are hope and love. That's who we are. They say they want to make America great again. We say you don't know what makes America great in the first place. This is what makes America great. Black and white and Latinos all together. Asian Americans, Italian Americans, Jewish Americans, Muslims, Christians, all together. This is what makes America great. Don't tell us about diversity. We live diversity. We celebrate diversity. We're not afraid of our differences. We live our differences. We're going to pass minimum wage. We're going to pass paid family leave. We're going to restore dignity and justice and show this nation the way to go forward is to go forward together. That's what New York is all about. Thank you. We're going to make it happen. 1199 and George Gresham, give them a round of applause. The healthcare workers, the voice of labor, the AFL-CIO. Thank you and God bless you.